And joining us now for more is Reserves Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus, the former IDF spokesperson to international media, now a senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Jonathan, thank you for joining us. Well, let's talk about the fuller story. Help us break down what is happening in Gaza with this, with the food situation, the humanitarian situation, and how is it somewhat different from, for example, how many international media outlets are reporting this?
Yeah, Shalom, Shalev, and thanks for having me, Kalev. Thanks for having me on. I would say that what we're looking at is two different aspects of the war coming to the fore. One is negotiations, where we see that Israel has made significant compromises and indicated a willingness for compromises. And now Hamas reportedly returned an answer that has been dubbed as positive by official Israeli sources, and making maybe some room for the chances of a diplomatic of a deal of a ceasefire. That's happening on one end. On the second end, or the other part of the spectrum, the IDF is operating in areas that it hasn't operated in the past. It is not a decisive maneuver. It is not something that will bring down Hamas, but it is indicating to Hamas that if you don't go for a deal, and if you don't approve the very generous and flexible Israeli option that has been given, then the consequences could be an enhanced military operation against Hamas that may bring it down finally militarily. And third part, which you just covered now, very, very important, is the media and the diplomatic aspect. I personally believe that Hamas has hardened its positions in negotiations, and it stands towards Israel and the negotiating powers, because they got a lot of support from 27 important countries in the world who signed a letter urging Israel, not Hamas, but urging Israel to end the war and to implement a ceasefire, as if Israel was the party not doing it. When Hamas saw that happening, they immediately translated that to, okay, we can demand more, we can go further, we can continue to starve Gazan civilians, we can continue to fight against Israel, we can continue to hold the hostages because we have international support. And yes, there is an orchestrated, funded, and coordinated effort that Hamas is part of it, but other organizations, UN organizations and other are part of it, which is aimed at applying diplomatic pressure on Israel. Sadly, I think that campaign is working. Sadly, I think that global public opinion is falling and aligning itself with this pressure campaign, and Hamas is benefiting from that. That will bring nothing good to Palestinians, nothing good to our hostages, and it will not end the suffering in the war, but it may force Israel to agree to a ceasefire while Hamas is still in power, and for that to be the end of the war.
Well, let me ask you, if Israel should go to this 60-day ceasefire, see the release of the hostages, will it be able to return to back to the war if necessary, or will the international pressure, even from the U.S., be too great?
Kalev, you touched on the most important, the singularly most important topic. It's all about the day after. And what Hamas has been adamant about is that they want American assurances that Israel will not go back to fighting. Because let's say it in plain language. This deal, the only good part of this ceasefire for Israel is that we have a chance of getting 10 live Israeli hostages back and hopefully 18 murdered hostages. The rest is all various degrees of bad and horrible. It is agreeing to Hamas dictates. It is pulling out troops from Gaza. It is allowing Hamas to continue to exist, and it is bringing in food through the corrupt and exposed UN channels that are basically just a front for Hamas in Gaza. So all of that is very bad. The only good thing is hostages, and the real important thing is, okay, the day after. Hamas, of course, I think they will not agree to a ceasefire that doesn't come with American assurances that says that Israel isn't going to go back to fighting. Israel, from its political and military and very realistic point of view, has really no other option, because if this war ends, October 7, a year and a half of fighting, and it ends with Hamas still being in power, that will sadly be a defeat for Israel.
All right, Jonathan Conricus, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Caleb.